Welcome in everybody to our YouTube channel here at Fantasy Pros. I am Lauren Carpenter. You can find me at Stepmom Lauren. And we have 11 players to trade for and away for this upcoming week 3. But before we get into that, if you want a chance to win a signed Derrick Henry Tennessee Titans jersey, courtesy of our friends over at Pristine Auction, it is very easy to do. All you need to do is make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube channel here at Fantasy Pros right now. Subscribe, drop a comment. That's it. That's all you have to do. You're in. It's very simple. Again, subscribe, drop a comment. You get a chance to win a signed Derrick Henry Tennessee Titans jersey, courtesy of our friends over at Pristine Auction. Make sure your notifications are turned on because we announce the winner of our jersey giveaways right here on the channel, and that is how you are alerted if you're the winner. All right, everybody, here we go. Here are 11 players to trade for week 3. Saquon Barkley, running back, New York Giants. Saquon Barkley didn't have the same monster fantasy score like he did in week 1, but boy, did he have the usage to suggest otherwise. He dominated the Giants' backfield with 89% share of the backfield touches at 24 for 88 yards. He averaged 3.4 yards per carry, which is significantly lower than the 9.1 yards per carry he had in week 1. The Giants will face the Cowboys, who held Joe Mixon to just 57 yards. Oof. However, they will face the Bears in week 4, who have allowed the 12th most points to running backs so far. He will also see Houston, Detroit, and Washington in weeks 10, 11, and 13, who are in the bottom 10 of defending the run. You may be able to capitalize on the lower fantasy score and a tougher mid-season schedule to get Saquon Barkley. Joe Mixon, running back, Cincinnati Bengals. Speaking of capitalizing on a down game, Joe Mixon is ripe for a trade offer after his second straight week without finding the end zone. Even though he didn't score, he played 73% or more of the team's offensive snaps for a combined 22 touches. As mentioned previously, he was held to only 57 yards in week 2. This could be further frustrating fantasy managers. Take advantage of that frustration as soon as possible. The Bengals play the Jets in week 3, and you're likely going to miss out on any kind of opportunity to snag him if you wait. Javonte Williams, running back, Denver Broncos. If you missed out on the chance to draft Javonte Williams, now may be the time to get him while his cost isn't astronomical. This may be a long shot, I get it. Considering his huge usage increased in week 2 from week 1, but his value is only going to keep getting higher and higher. You may still be able to capitalize on Williams' week 1 performance where he saw only 29.3% of the target share and 54.7% of the snaps alongside Melvin Gordon. The Williams manager may be in a position where he wants to sell high in fear of another 50-50 split heading into the 2022 season. A.J. Dillon, running back, Green Bay Packers. A.J. Dillon had a decent game against the Bears, but the sparkle and shine was all over Aaron Jones, who dominated Chicago with 15 rush attempts for 132 yards and a touchdown, as well as 3 targets, 3 receptions for 38 yards, and a receiving touchdown. I'm out of breath just saying it out loud right now. This is precisely what Aaron Rodgers needs with a rookie wide receiving core and no Davante Adams. Look for Aaron Jones to be more involved in the passing game while Dillon gobbles up those line from scrimmage touches. The Dillon manager may be in a nervous position, figuring that Jones has now completely taken over the backfield and that the RB2 will start getting lost in the shuffle. Up next on our trade 4, we have Cam Akers, another running back, this time from the Los Angeles Rams. Now, the Cam Akers manager likely rejoiced when he finally came out on Sunday and actually played. While Darrell Henderson did outperform Akers, he still rushed 18 times for 44 yards and logged 18 yards on 2 receptions. Remember that Akers was dealing with the soft tissue damage ahead of week 1, which made his lack of use a little bit more understandable. It also makes perfect sense that Sean McVay will take his time getting Akers back into the offense as long as he can to keep him healthy for the long haul. You may be able to offer someone like Josh Jacobs to get Akers and possibly a wide receiver. And our last trade 4 candidate is Damien Pierce, running back, Houston Texans. If you believe in Damien Pierce, but you missed out on him in the draft, now is the time to get him before he explodes onto the scene. You are likely not going to get this kind of opportunity later on in the season. Despite out-touching Rex Burkhead's 16-2, Pierce was unable to convert anything into fantasy points, and this is great news for people looking to acquire him. So if you're in that market, do it now. The Texans face Chicago in Week 3, who are the 12th worst against running backs so far this season. After their bye in Week 6, the schedule is juicy, as they face the Raiders, Titans, Eagles, and Washington, all of which are bottom 10 against the run. Because Pierce has done practically nothing in terms of fantasy production, you can get him at an extreme value, but that won't last long. Offload a piece on your bench that you're just not quite sure what to do with, someone like Isaiah Pacheco and maybe a high-end wide receiver 3. Players to trade away. First up, Austin Ekeler, running back, Los Angeles Chargers. I say it with this tone of voice because I know it's painful to think of this, but hear me out. Austin Ekeler's snap count did increase substantially from Week 1 from 49% to 63%, as well as his route participation from 38% to 62%. And this is exactly what you want to see if you need to sell high. Why sell high? There are some red flags that are going by the names of Sony Michel and Josh Kelly. It's bad news for his long-term studliness since the Chargers will want to use Sony Michel and Josh Kelly to keep Ekeler healthy for the playoffs. He's still a fantasy producer, and you can fill in positional needs aplenty if you capitalize on his performances now. Week 5 through 10 will be tough matchups for the running back position as well. Depending on your league scoring, you may be able to get a high-end quarterback if you're the Trey Lance manager, an RB1, or even a high-end wide receiver with Ekeler's name value. Next up, Naji Harris, running back, Pittsburgh Steelers. The annoyance of the Liz Frank injury will hamper Harris's trade value, but there is still no denying the sheer volume of his workload under head coach Mike Tomlin. Despite the questionable tag, he played 71% of the snaps and totaled 20 touches for 89 yards. If you are worried about his longevity, use that monster performance to move him for a more consistent piece at running back and/or a high-end wide receiver too. The Steelers will only face one RB easy team until Week 15. That matchup is against the Eagles in Week 8. It may be in your best interest to offload him now after a good game before he starts falling into the low-end RB1 territory. Josh Jacobs, running back, Las Vegas Raiders. Jacobs is one of those running backs who just feels like he's right there, just about to be a fantasy powerhouse, but doesn't quite pull through week in and week out. Despite having 126 yards on the ground and 28 through the air, Jacobs failed to find the end zone again. He is productive enough that you won't be insulting someone by offering him up for a trade after Week 2. He does still have value, although it could be better if he added a score here and there. He's the perfect candidate to bundle in a trade with another asset to go after the big guns. By himself, you may be making a lateral move, but adding a low-end wide receiver too might sweeten the deal. Next up on the trade away, Devin Duvernay, wide receiver, Baltimore Ravens. I know it seems like this video has been mostly running backs, but we have a wide receiver with Devin Duvernay. He is primed to get you some goods to beef up your squad after back-to-back stud performances. I understand that Duvernay got the chunk of his Week 2 yardage on the kick return for 103 yards and a touchdown, but he also added 2 receptions and 42 yards throughout the rest of the game. Devin Duvernay is considered the wide receiver 2 in that offense, but in honesty, he's the 3rd receiving option in that offense behind Rashad Bateman and Mark Andrews. Capitalize on those 2 huge games now before he falls into obscurity with the return of J.K. Dobbins. And finally, our last player to trade away, especially if you need some goods, and it is wide receiver Jalen Waddle of the Miami Dolphins. Another one that kind of hurts to say, but desperate times call for desperate measures, my friend, and Jalen Waddle is one of those wide receiver 1B, A, depending on what play it is, that can really give you some help, especially at the quarterback or the tight end position. And man, I tell you what, it's been a rough week, and it's only heading into Week 3. All right, both he and Tyreek Hill had enormous fantasy outings in Week 2. Waddle had 171 yards on 11 receptions and 19 targets and 2 touchdowns. That is nothing to sneeze at, but Tyreek Hill is still an integral part of this offense, and Waddle is just one of many mouths to feed. It's unclear if Waddle will be able to sustain this kind of production week in and week out. So if you can get some really good stuff for Waddle while he had a huge game, you might really have to take it. I know this is what stinks because Jalen Waddle is fun, especially his touchdown dance, but you can make a major trade move here, like an RB1 or even a high-end wide receiver 2, or maybe both if you're lucky. And there you have it, my friends. Those are 11 players to trade for or away right now as we head into week 3. Thank you very much for watching. Remember, if you want a chance to win a signed Derrick Henry Tennessee Titans jersey, courtesy of our friends over at Pristine Auction, subscribe to our YouTube channel right now. Leave a comment. That's it. Super simple. It honestly really can't get easier than that. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure the notifications are turned on because that is how we notify you if you have won. Also remember to follow us on social media here at Fantasy Pros, at Fantasy Pros. And also make sure you're checking out all of the amazing content that we have putting out for you every single day over on our website, fantasypros.com.
Thanks for tuning in to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel. Don't forget to check out our featured videos. And while you're at it, make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Fantasy Pros, so you can get the latest news and updates to give you the edge you need in your fantasy league.